We are live with a new episode of Mentor Minutes, a chance for leaders from around the world to come together, ask some questions in regards to obstacles or struggles that you're facing in your day-to-day leadership, and I'll put some principles and some theory of leadership behind that to get you some actionable steps. Now, I do have to start out with an exciting kind of announcement. Last week I put out to those that subscribe to my newsletter an offer. If you have never done one of my workshops, if your organization has never participated in one of my 4-hour or 8-hour leadership development workshops, I am offering that out for free. All you do is cover my travel and lodging expenses, and I will come out to you and conduct a workshop. If you've got 6 to 30 people that would like to go through a leadership development workshop, I can do that for you. Happy to do that, and I'm looking to just kind of fill my calendar. Just a great little end of a very successful year for everybody, for myself, and so looking to fill my calendar. And so if you'd like to take me up on that offer, take a look. I've got a link to it there. You can always go to my website, CameronMorsey.com, and check out the corporate workshops, and you'll see the details there. It is for a limited time. Of course, I only have so much space on my calendar, so if you're interested or your organization might be interested, then check that out. I'm excited to offer that to you. Good to see everybody jump on here, and while we queue up some more people to join us today, I do have some questions that I got offline. First one, very applicable for many of you out there, and that is, do you have any advice, perspectives on working with a strong union presence? Well, as a leader, the union often provides another layer of complexity to things, or another layer that prohibits you from doing certain things, and that's fine. What you need to realize is that a union presence is a reality. And as such, when you have no choice in how to maneuver around it, it's just the way that things work. So I would lean on that presence as much as possible. Look for some of the benefits that come out of that as far as support. When you need to roll something out, getting the support of union leadership often is something that breaks through some of those barriers. The thing is to try to establish as good a relationship as possible with the union leadership and be as transparent as possible as far as the performance of the organization and the performance of those union members is concerned. Start that discussion and start that transparency around that performance, because that's what you're going to use and that's what you're going to leverage down the road when you need to make changes and adjustments and roll out new ideas. And so that's one of the areas as far as union representation that I recommend for people, is to start that discussion, have regular meetings with them about the performance of the organization and the performance of those union members. That can really help you down the road. Next question is in regards to personality conflicts that are causing interpersonal communication issues. This leader has a number of individuals who are absolutely fantastic. She knows them, great personalities, good people, but there is conflict in the workplace and they just turn mean and nasty, and it's not productive at all in that. The main part of this is that you've got the foundation. You have individuals who are at least decent in some realm, all right? They've got good perspective, good people. What you need to do is you need to find ways for them to interact with each other better. And it might be that you take the competitive aspect out of it. I don't know why, but I default to an idea that this might be a competitive workplace issue that you're dealing with. And so take the competition out of it and let them get to know each other. This may be a situation where you want to roll out some team building activities. And I don't mean ropes courses and weekends away or anything like that. Team building activities, you can Google them. There's plenty of 5-minute team building activities where people get to learn more about each other. And it is an opportunity to open up communication and get them to share an experience together as opposed to having individual experiences. That's what enriches that communication and engagement between individuals, and that can help break down some of these barriers. Now, what I also may recommend in regards to this is actually pulling some of them in and having an open discussion about some of the issues. So it may be, I probably wouldn't do more than 2 at a time, but I would bring 2 individuals in and say, hey, I realize that there is an interpersonal conflict. Call it out. Be transparent. Everybody sees this. And so it's not a surprise to anybody to talk about it. All right, so what you want to do is this is just like any other conflict, by the way. my recommendation in regards to that is bringing the two individuals in, and then you mediate a discussion and bring clarity to the issues surrounding it. So it may be you bring them in and say, you know what, Cameron, you're absolutely fantastic. I know you as a person. You've got a good head. You want to, accomplish great things in this organization. Sally, I know that you are the same. You are a great person. You want to accomplish great things. But I know that there's conflict between the two of you, and I just wanted to discuss that. And what you do is you open up that discussion a little bit. You tie it to organizational goals. The thing is we all want a workplace that is absolutely fantastic. We want a workplace that is enriching. We want to get along with our coworkers, but there's natural personality differences. There's personality differences in families, let alone, in the workplace. So I wanted to kind of discuss that. And Cameron, is there anything that Sally does that is problematic, that causes you frustration, that sort of thing? And so then, you flip that around to Sally. And so you talk about it. So what I'm hearing is that if Cameron changed this, that would be great. Sally, you now hear that that's not his intention with this, or something along those lines. And so you mediate that discussion. This is something, and it's great, like I say, for conflict. It's something that takes a little bit of practice. Mediating that discussion, finding the common threads, reaching that common understanding where you meet in the middle. Cameron may change the way that he phrases certain things. Sally is going to be open to the fact that when he does say something like that, he doesn't mean the way that she's taking it, for instance. And so you mediate that discussion. So if you have good people that aren't getting along, bring them in and have that transparent discussion. And that's something that can be hugely helpful for you as far as mediating that. I've gotten a couple of questions here online, so I'll start tackling those. Mohammed has a question here, and everybody can chime in on this one. I have an opportunity to be a leader. What are the main problems I'll face? The biggest issue with leadership, and it's something that I tell everybody, is communication. The biggest struggle is going to be communication. How do you get your message across? How do you impart the importance of what it is that you're asking somebody to do so that they can set their own priorities and you get better accountability? The foundation of accountability, motivation, those are things that might pop up on people's radars as difficulties in leadership. Juggling priorities is a difficulty in leadership. But one of the foundations of getting past those things is communication, Mohammed. So I would definitely lean into communication wherever possible. Ask your team what they think. When they come to you with a question, when they come to you with a problem, ask them what they think you should do in that situation, or what they think the right course of action is. Open that dialogue up with lots of questions, Mohammed. That's going to be your challenge initially, is opening that discussion up and getting that communication right. You'll have plenty of other ones, and I'll be here to help you through those as well, Mohammed. I hope that helps. Abid has the next question. That is, what are the drawbacks of micromanagement? Is it good or bad in supervising difficult employees? So when you have difficult employees, or let me flip this, you may have employees that are not quite meeting the standards of performance. They're not quite, up to snuff, shall we say. And what happens is you do want, when you have problem children like that, to lean in a little bit more. And so part of this is that balance between a little bit of micromanagement and a little bit of empowerment. You want to develop both at the same time. So micromanagement is bad because it takes your eye off the prize. You end up, as a leader, focusing on smaller things that you shouldn't be doing, and you don't have the time to deal with the large things that your employees can't help you with. So it's a priority thing. You end up sacrificing big priorities, high priority items, for low priority items. That's what the trap is with micromanagement and leaders. So if you have a problem employee, lean in, but give them. And the way that I tackle micromanagement so much is with updates. All right, so you give them a task, you give them a direction, you give them something to work on, and then you check back with them at a specified time. So what this does is this puts a structure around your micromanagement and your empowerment so that you can manage that structure and you're not going too deep into it. So talk through the issues with the team member. All right, set up a plan with that team member and then follow up on that plan. It may be that you have to, in certain areas, get very specific. And in other areas, you can step away. But if you bring that update schedule into it, that's something that can help you management. I hope that helps out, Abid. George, good to see you here, and Samir as well. Mohammed, glad you like that answer there. And so as I've got some people jumping on, if you have questions, drop down into the comment section. Happy to get to them. I'm going to get to some questions that I did receive offline. This is an interesting question here. And that is, if a workplace follows a bell curve, then why would superstar employees put efforts into training other team members? So the idea is that you have that bell curve where a certain subset of 66% of the team falls in the average. And then you have the superstars and you have the poor performers. And I think the issue is that while I still believe that a bell curve generally exists, it's just kind of a statistical reality in regards to many cases. What I do find is that the bell curves are different as far as where they fit on that. So you might have a bell curve right here, but in some organizations, that bell curve, I'll do this, is way over on the poor side, not performing well at all. And in other organizations, the bell curve is way over here. I draw the example of, say, Google or Facebook, where they have the pick of the top talent. Within that organization, there may be a bell curve of performance, but I would argue that top talent with great training and all kinds of support behind them is performing better than the small mom and pop in a rural area that just doesn't have access to as much talent. Not saying they are doing a great job with what they've got, but they don't have access to that top talent, are probably not performing as well. So the fallacy on this is that the bell curve is fixed as far as performance is concerned. I think between organizations, that bell curve shifts. Great academic question. I hadn't received one like that before. Appreciate that. Next one I had offline was how to manage an employee or student that is consistently needy in a time poor environment. So you don't have enough time and they are a needy individual. What you want to do is empower those individuals. So if you have those people, even if you have plenty of time, which almost no leader does, but if you need more time and you have those needy individuals, you want to flip their questions onto them. All right, you want to you want to empower them, first of all, and you also want, I hate to say punishment, that's why I'm pausing here, for coming to you on it. So it might be that they come to you with a question, they're needy. So you ask them, well, what do you think we should do? And you really focus on it, all right? So they might say, well, I don't know, that's why I'm coming to you. Well, no, you've handled situations, so double back to them. You've handled situations similar to this, how would you handle this? And they might come up with the idea for it. They usually will come up with the exact same course of action that you would. In those cases, say, great. Now, when this happens again, just do that. And so you start bringing them into the discussion and trying to get ahead of some of those issues. Now, when they come back with the same issue, say, well, what did we discuss last time? You don't need to come to me with this. You know how to handle this. Now, if they don't have the right idea for it, you can always discuss it, explain the why, and then again, tell them, all right, if this comes up again, you don't need to come to me, just do this particular course of action. So that's the big thing with it. And diving in a little bit to it is coming up with almost a little, I don't want to say punitive. What it is it's an issue with making things easy or making things difficult. All right, so the easy thing is just to come to the boss, get the answer, and get out. But if I have to have a discussion, then that makes it a little bit more difficult. So maybe I'll just make the decision myself, and that becomes the easy course. So that's how to tackle that behavioral change there, and that hopefully gets you time down the road. Good question. Marcy has the next question for us, and it's dealing with people who are constantly, thanks Wilson, appreciate that. Oop, bounced around. Dealing with people who are constantly poisoning the waters by talking negatively about other personnel behind their backs. Yet when asked about it, they say that is not what they meant. Well, so Marcy, when you have these gossip people, all right, what you want to do is you want to confront them, similar to this, all right? Because what that is that gossip I equate to a bullying behavior. And the way to stop a bully is to call out that particular behavior. So call it out. That's the first step, and that will naturally minimize it. The next thing is to start looking for either obvious examples where, oh, that's not what I meant. Well, you called them a derogatory term. How could you not have meant something like that? So dive in on the next step, or if you see consistency with it, I'd look to talk through that. The other way to ramp this up even further is to actually expose the gossip in a meeting with the other person. And so, hey, Marcy, I understand this got back to you. Cameron said this, and I wanted to kind of talk through it. Cameron, you've stated to me that this is not what you had meant by it. What did you mean by that? And so this is a way of exposing that gossip. Gossip thrives in the shadows. So if you want to bring it out, then shine a spotlight on it, and that's going to be something that really diminishes that behavior. I hope that helps out, Marcy. I know that's not a fun course of action to go through, but it is the best course of action for reaching kind of the lasting change that you want in the organization. Now, as we've had some more people jump on here, I know I've got a question offline. If you have questions, drop them down in the comment section. Happy to tackle them. I did also want to give a shout out to the offer that I'm throwing out on Facebook now. Last week, I put out an offer to my newsletter subscribers that if they wanted to have a free 4-hour workshop where I come to you and your organization and do a leadership development workshop, I'm exposing that for a limited time for new clients that have been looking at this before. So you cover my travel expenses and lodging expenses out there. I fly out to your organization, groups of 6 to 30. I will conduct a 4-hour workshop just like I do for every other client that I have. And it's just an opportunity for me to get out to different people and to start filling up my calendar just a little bit. I've got a little bit of extra time here at the end of the year, and it's kind of a celebration. Jump out there. International clients, happy to help you out there as well. I get a ton of work done on planes and airports, so that's actually almost an opportunity for me. But take a look. I've got a link up above if you're interested in it, or you can always go to my website, CameronMorrissey.com, and then look at the corporate workshop page, and that has some of the details there. It's for a limited time. Obviously, I can't completely fill up my calendar with that, but if you've been interested in a workshop, this is a great opportunity to do it for the minimal amount of cost. So with that said, next question I have the offline is, what is the best way to bring your team together as one? Bringing a team together and team building in general is about shared experience as much as anything. It's shared experience, and then I'll say shared goals. All right, so shared experience is just bringing people together. This can be, instead of handing out individual tasks, it can be handing out group tasks. So instead of handing it out to Cameron, you hand it out to Cameron and Marcy, and they work together on it. Now, we know that the reality is they'll split up the duties and then they'll come back, but that's more togetherness than they had before. The other thing, and I'm a huge fan of this, and I wish more organizations did it, is simple team building activities. These are 5 to 10 minute things. And it's not anything crazy. It might be uncomfortable to start out with, but if you do these every couple of weeks, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you will see people learning more about one another and being able to come together. This is a manufactured shared experience. I draw the example to this to drive this home is when you have a crisis in the organization. Does everybody feel more together during and immediately after the crisis? Yes, because they had that shared experience. So find ways to get those shared experiences together. The other thing is to highlight group goals, team goals, organizational goals. I'm all for pitting people together. I'm a competitive person and I like playing the competitive game at work a little bit, but you also want to tie people to group goals. What are we all working towards? Let's get out of our petty day-to-day stuff where we've got problems with this issue, that person, whatever else. What are our overall goals? Because we are a team working towards specific goals. So highlight team involvement, get people working together on a regular basis, and then also highlight the goals that everybody is working towards, and that's going to be something that helps out a lot. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section. Otherwise, I got a couple more that I need to get to offline, and that is how to manage, got that one. What's your approach on an employee that is rude and short with others, but the employee thinks that they do not have an issue? She thinks it is everyone else. Get specific and get timely with it. All right. That whole, I think it's everybody else is a defensive deflection away from the issue. likely this person realizes that they are being short and that they are being rude. All right, so call that out in a timely and very specific environment. The other thing that you want to do is you want to coach this behavior. This is how you should have done it, or this is how I would recommend that you handle this situation. So instead of being short with the person, instead use this phrase. If that's not what you intended, this phrase communicates that better. All right, and keep having those discussions. And as you get more constructive with them, you may actually decide to go the route of some sort of progressive discipline, depending on its impact within your organization. But open up the discussion, start putting forth some solutions and some ideas on different behavior that would be more constructive, and that's how you kind of minimize that rudeness and the effect that it might have on people. So that's my take on that. Tell me, I love this question. Tell me about a time you struggled with work-life balance. Did you manage to solve the problem? How did you do it? Work-life balance is a big challenge in the hospitality industry here in Vegas, and I've worked in it for over a decade. It's a 24/7 town, and it's a 24/7 business. If you're managing the reservation departments, all of the operators, all of those things, you've got issues that come up at 10:30 at night. And that builds a culture around it. I would get emails from vice presidents at 10:30 on a Saturday night in regards to an issue. And so how I managed work-life balance in that is that I set up some some guidelines on barriers. I'm trying guardrails. Thank you. That's what I was thinking of. So I set up some guardrails for it. So it might be that I would give it to I would forward emails to my supervisor to take care of in the middle of the night. And that would be something that, I don't have to think of, I don't have to take care of. I have empowered them to take care of that particular issue. That requires trust, that requires training, all of those things. Some simple things that I did is, and this is how I came to the biggest thing with work-life balance when you're struggling with that is I tell people to really focus on quality of life experience. What are the things that you like to do on the weekends? What are the things that you like to do on the weekdays? Put a focus on that and bring more quality to your life first and foremost. That'll help. So I might go and make sure that I was doing something with the kids over the weekend. It might be golfing. It might be hiking. It might be taking them out to the movies. I'm doing something. It's not that I'm vegging out all weekend, but I'm making time for those things that are important. I would also steal away to, go hiking. One of the things I loved about hiking is I had no cell reception up there. And so it was a natural break away from that. But get quality behind what you're doing. Set up some guardrails. 10 o'clock at night, I'm not going to respond to emails. I'm going to feign that I was asleep, perhaps. But 10 o'clock, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to pick them up at 7 o'clock in the morning. But find those guardrails, whatever makes sense. But the biggest thing for you is bring some quality to that personal time. Really put a focus on not just chilling, but and I'm fine with, taking a relaxing weekend, but find some quality time and those things that you like to do and put a focus on that. What that does is that creates a little bit of an energy loop. You have more to talk about, more energy. Just like if you had a great weekend, your Monday morning is filled with energy, you want to do the same thing every weekend, but also during the week as well. And it doesn't have to be something that's active. It can be chilling at Barnes & Noble, going to a coffee shop, trying a new restaurant, cooking a new recipe, sitting at home and reading a book. It can be those sorts of things. If that's what gets your juices flowing, that's what you really like, make sure you're setting aside time for that. And that will naturally bring a little bit more balance. It might be the difference between, you've got a big pile of weight over here, but something that's really dense over here, real good quality with your life experience, and that's what balances things out. There's more time over here perhaps, but there's more quality over here. And that can be something that loops things together for you. Good question. Love that when people hit my experience straight away there. How do you build morale and teamwork when the organization is extremely short-staffed? When the organization is short-staffed, everybody sees it. And one of the important things to do is bring people into that discussion. Is this something that's going to last? Are there things that are going to be taking place to address this? Are you hiring new people? Are you not hiring new people and just writing it out? It may be that you simply say, you know what, this is an uptick in business, and we're looking to see if next month whether it decreases. If it doesn't decrease, then we might be looking to have some more discussions. One of the most important things when you're going through a crisis or a struggle within the organization is to bring people into the loop and kill that fear of the unknown. Feed them information, feed them what you're thinking, what the organization is thinking. They can agree or disagree with it, but what it does is it takes away that fear of the unknown. This is going to last forever. They don't see what the problem is. They don't realize you're able to open up those discussions. That's one of the most important things. The second thing that I recommend is this is a test. So many things that happen, so many problems that occur in leadership are a test of how well you handle certain things. And so I would recommend in these cases where you take a look at how you are managing the operation. Are you getting the most productivity out of your team? If you're not, and one of the places to check is to actually go to your best people and say, what ideas do you have for increasing everybody's productivity? How can we get to that? That's a great way, is engaging the team with that, with some ideas on how to deal with the short staff situation. Again, that brings them into the discussion. That gets right to the transparency of things, and that can be what really helps out. Abita and throws out the SMART objectives. Love it. Love the terminology. Sometimes we cannot get SMART objectives in order to reach our goal due to some unavoidable circumstances. Sure. What should be the strategy to overcome it without SMART objectives? And for those that don't know, SMART is a goal-setting mechanism, which is fantastic. I teach it in my workshops. Again, check out the link to have me come out for free. But it's specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. That's what SMART means as far as your goals. If you have goals, you want to make sure that you get specific on what you're looking for. You get measurable, metrics in place to be able to track progress, that they are actionable goals, that you can take action on, they're realistic, and that you have a timetable set to those. That's what's really important. If you're having, in order to reach goals due to some unavoidable, there's a lot of people that can't get certain aspects of the SMART goals a beat. And so in these cases, get what you can as far as that SMART framework is concerned. And then I guess what I would say is publicize the goal as much as possible and talk it through. When you can't get that SMART process in place, talk through what the process is in getting it. Publish the project plan if at all possible, but keep talking about the goal. What happens, the reason the SMART framework is so powerful is because it sets in place ways in which you can communicate that goal and track progress. If you're missing in those areas, then just simply talking about it is going to be the way to kind of get past that. I know that's really vague way of terming it, but depending on what parts of that SMART framework you're missing in regards to a goal, you can just keep talking about it, talk about the project plan, talk about lessons learned, what worked and what didn't work as far as reaching the goal. What are the best practices? Reach out to your superstars that are dealing with the goal and get their feedback on what's going on with the situation. That can all be hugely helpful. And 5S, how do I deal with a manager that does, I practice lean and 5S. I'm wondering whether that's Six Sigma. How do I deal with a manager that doesn't? So Christian, if you're in on some of these practices, lean processes, Six Sigma, that sort of thing, and you have an individual on your team that doesn't, the question is what can you give them? What small little bit of that practice can you give them that is going to help them, that they are going to see a return? What are you doing? If you're in a co-manager position, what tools are you using that they could use? If you have a manager that doesn't do that, so if we have somebody who's above you that doesn't do that, simply explain the process and what you're doing a little bit more. Offer some advice to them. And you may phrase it in, you have to be careful in how you phrase it, Christian. Obviously, you don't want to diminish their authority in this particular situation. But you might say, you know what, that's a really great idea. How about we do that and we do this and this? And so you kind of tack on to their idea and apply the Six Sigma and lean principles to it. So take their course of action and then apply, or you may not even talk about it with them. You may use your discretion to get that accomplished in that way. Share the easy tips that gets people on board with the process quicker and easier, and then just bring them along with it and look for those opportunities where you can tack it on with maybe without them even noticing. Good to see everybody joining here. I got one more question offline, so if you have a question, drop down in the comment section and I'll get to this one. I did want to give a shout out. If you've ever wanted to have me come out and conduct a leadership development workshop with your organization, I'm offering it for free. I'm waiving my fee. You just pay travel and lodge. I have the details up above through the link, or you can go to my webpage, CameronMorsey.com, go to the corporate workshop, and I've got all the details there. I would love to come out, just filling up my calendar, kind of a celebration at the end of the year for me, to do this because it's what I love. I love doing workshops with teams more than almost anything else that I deal with there. So check out the link, check out the details, and I'd love to work with you. Next question, last question, unless I get one more on offline or online here. How do you deal with, tough one, how do you deal with a boss who always puts a colleague first? Whenever this person demands her attention, she drops everything for this person, even walking away from others she is in conversation with to deal with whatever issue has arisen with this person. I might ask a couple ways of tackling this. First of all, why? Why does she go to this particular person? Does she like this person more? Is this person the one that is in the most need of help with situations? Does this person have a personal relationship with the CEO? What is the reason? So ask yourself that question, and what you're looking for is there anything that you're missing? Is there anything that you can emulate with this particular person that's going to get you the same sort of attention and direction? The second thing is I would simply ask the boss. Ask your boss, why is it that she is doing this? Hey, I noticed that you cut off conversations with me anytime that Cameron has an issue. Is there any particular reason for that I should know of? Or what? Because, and you might say, it's a little off-putting. I mean, we all need help here. And so see if that gets you anywhere. So look to emulate the other person. This happens with favorites a lot. I tell people, why is it that they are a favorite? Is it because they are more personable to the boss? It might be that person, it's a personality thing. Are there traits that you can emulate that put you into that favorite category? And I'm not endorsing having favorites in the workplace, but it's a reality that we don't always control if we are in a subordinate role. But look to see what you can emulate and then call it out. And just ask in a casual way, in not a way that's not off-putting for the boss, and see if they give you any direction on that. So with that said, I'm going to close out today's session. Tomorrow I'll have another Mentor Minute. So if you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section. If you'd like to remain anonymous, as you see, I handle a lot of questions offline. You can always email me, cm@CameronMorsey.com. Direct message me on Facebook, and I'll be happy to get to those. But in the meantime, everybody have a great week, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.